All right, friends, if we can stand for the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, everybody, welcome. Kathy, if you could do a roll call, please.
You got it. Sabin. Bartleson.
Here.
Deskin.
Here.
Bergbauer.
Here.
Galogly.
Here.
McDonald.
Here.
Pugh.
Present.
And Sheehan is absent. We have a quorum.
All right, I see Steve Benarsak's here to open us up.
Dear God, I just want to take this time to thank you for our great city. And thank you for the safety that we enjoy, that we could walk the streets and go into the businesses wherever they are at. And thank you for the businesses that we have in our city and the new businesses that are coming. I just ask that you would grant them prosperity and growth. And I thank you for each member of the city council here and every person that makes this city work. I just ask that you would just bless them. I ask that you would just give them wisdom, guidance, and direction to help our great city work. And again, thank you for our law enforcement and fire personnel. Thank you for the safety that they have. And I just ask that you would continue to keep a hedge of protection around them when they're serving us, when they go on calls. I just ask that you would give them wisdom when they go on certain situations. Bless their families. Bless our workers here and their families also. Bless this week, this meeting. Amen and amen.
Amen. Amen.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
All right, anybody got any liaison stuff?
I do.
Please,
I do.
Christina.
I've got two things, actually. The best is from Bloom Lockport. Originally, we decided to put something in Central Square, and then we found out through Lance, he was able to get a grant for us from the Heritage Corridor. The grant was non-matching, so it's $45,000 that we got, and it's going to be at the Route 66 sign. And it's going to be just lovely. It's we're actually having like a kind of a teaching area there, and you can go through the garden, and it'll have what's going to be in bloom during that season, during the fall, what's blooming, spring, summer. I'm excited for this. We are hopefully, once everything gets together very soon, going to be getting to that ground and doing some planting. So that was a good thing. Thank you, Lance, for finding that. And then the other thing is April 20th at City Hall, Interact, which is a club from the high school, we're doing bag recycling. So you take all your plastic bags from 9 a.m. to 12 noon, drop them off at City Hall. And they take those bags and they take 1,000 pounds. 1,000 pounds of bags will make one bench. So, which is actually, I can't imagine what that actually looks like. So, but they do this every year. This is the first year that the city's gotten involved. So I think maybe we can get a little bit more than one bench.
Maybe one at the Bloom Lockport.
Yeah, that would be.
1,000-pound bench?
I don't know, but
And
people
then we
like to
can put a
sit.
police officer sitting on the bench.
Yes, to keep, yeah. I like. Or you can bring those bags to me for cat litter. That's what I use them for. Okay. Thank you, Christina, that's cool. All right, anybody? What do you got, JR?
First of all, I would like to officially announce that we have appointed Brian Lovering as our new Director of Public Works. He was our interim, I believe, at the last meeting, but now you're official. So thanks, Brian. Good luck to you. I have a few things for, and I was just asked about it. Yard waste. Waste Management began their yard waste pickup last week, although some people are complaining that they didn't get it picked up. But supposedly, if you have your bins, it started last week. Now, Lockport does its spring branch pickup, but that will not be until the first week of May. So if you start collecting your stuff, it won't be until the first week of May until Lockport comes around to pick up branches. Second, Lockport has begun hydrant flushing program. We started on the east side at Victoria Crossing, and we will work our way across to west. It'll take about 6 weeks. Once your neighborhood will be notified with signs. Also, you can follow the track them where they're working on the Lockport website. They will let you know where it's taking place. But it will take about 6 weeks to move across the whole city as they flush hydrants. Just a reminder, when they are flushing hydrants in your area, it could affect your water. We recommend running water for a while in a tub or a sink or something for a while, just to clear out any possible rust. You do not want to go in and start doing laundry right away if they're flushing hydrants in your area. Finally, the Illinois Route 7 channelization project will be starting up here shortly. Maybe at the end of this week or next week, you'll start seeing signage out there. And they will be working on erosion control and a few other things. You probably won't see equipment and actually work being done probably till mid-May is when that will start. Lockport will be hosting a open house right here at the City Council or Chamber Councils here at City Hall on Monday, April 15th from 4 to 6. And that's for any residents, but mostly probably businesses are going to be the most affected in this area, and we'd highly recommend that they stop in. But there will be an open house for anybody affected by the Channel 7 channelization.
And again, what was the
Route
date,
7 channelization.
like you said, JR? for
What's that?
What was the date again?
That is Monday, April 15th, from 4 to 6, right here.
Right on. Thank you.
And that's all I have.
All right, anybody else got anything? Okay, very good. Lots of informative stuff. Thank you. All right, friends, looking for a motion to have a consent agenda tonight.
I'll make second.
Man, JR and Pat? Okay. Well, everybody good with that? All right. So, looking for approval on our regular city council meeting minutes from March 20th. Bum, ba, da, bum. Committee of the whole meeting minutes from March 20th, our payroll period ending March 17th. The transfer of the volume cap in connection with private activity bond issues, ordinance 24008. Reappointment of Lisa Hegland to the Lockport Police Board. Reappointment of Matt Garland to the City of Lockport Planning and Zoning Commission. Reappointment of Neil Wheeler to the International Code Board of Appeals. And then purchase of 4 WatchGuard video systems for our squad cars. So looking for a motion to approve.
Motion. Second.
Okay, was that Renee over there? Yes. Okay, Renee and Pat. Can we have a roll call, please?
You got it. Saban.
Yes.
Bartleson.
Yes.
Deskin.
Yes.
Bergbauer.
Yes.
Galogly.
Yes.
McDonald.
Yes.
Hugh.
Yes.
And Sheehan is absent. Motion passes.
All right, looking for a motion to approve our bills. Renee,
Second.
seconded by Pat. Any questions, thoughts, concerns?
Quiet group tonight.
All right, then we'll do a roll call.
Okay. Saban.
Yes.
Bartleson.
Yes.
Deskin.
Yes.
Bergbauer.
Yes.
Galogly.
I abstain. City of Lockport is paying my employer for a hatch that they're using down at the treatment plant.
McDonald.
Yes.
Hugh.
Yes.
And Sheehan is absent. Motion passes.
All right, next we're looking for a motion to approve facade grant, Resolution 24030, for 2 pins, 944, 946 North State Street. Looking for a motion to approve.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Tina and JR. Any questions, thoughts, concerns? All right, then we'll do a roll call, please.
All right. Saban.
No.
Bartleson. Sorry, Bartleson.
Yes.
Okay. Deskin.
Yes.
Bergbauer.
Yes.
Galogly.
Yes.
McDonald.
Yes.
Pugh.
Yes.
And Sheehan is absent. Motion passes.
Okay, next we're looking for a motion to approve the authorization for our salt purchase.
Motion.
Second.
All right, Renee and JR. Yeah, maybe,
We're just not fast enough.
yeah, these guys are quick. Everybody good with salt? Any questions on that one? Okay, then a roll call, please.
All right. Saban.
Yes.
Bartleson.
Yes.
Deskin.
Yes.
Bergbauer.
Yes.
Galogly.
Yes.
McDonald.
Yes.
Pugh.
Yes.
And Sheehan is absent. Motion passes.
All right, next we're looking for approval for Resolution 24038, which is repair to well number 12. Looking for a motion for that.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
JR, Christina, questions, thoughts, concerns?
What is, yeah, what is it?
All right, yeah, so what we end up doing is every year, the city selects a new well to rehab. This year, well 12 ended up giving out during the summer, so we originally had well 6 programmed, but we had to bump and switch to 2, and ended up moving well 12 ahead of it. So once the motor seized, we had to pull the well motor, and then basically it's to refurb it and put it back into the ground so we can get that back up to operational function. So that is the one, and it's basically getting, the contract is to Water Well Solutions, so, in the amount of $131,380.
All righty.
So was the swap of these two dollar for dollar, or did 12 end up being more than 6 projected costs? Do we know?
We actually budgeted 150 is our normal budget. We end up pulling them and seeing it once we get the assessment on them. We actually know what the final dollar amount is, so we did have 150 as one, and next year it'll be 150 again. So
Okay,
it's
so that's
a
kind of like
standard thing is a
budgetary
rolling
price.
150.
Cool,
yeah.
all right, thank you.
And this includes the chemical rehab of the well as well?
This portion does not. That is a separate thing that will happen, and we're still working on those to get the median filters replaced. So those will happen as a separate job, but these are just our maintenance of the actual pumps and getting the wells to function and pull out the water.
Thanks.
All right, friends, if there's nothing else, then we'll do a roll call.
You got it. Saban.
Yes.
Bartleson.
Yes.
Deskin.
Yes.
Bergbauer.
Yes.
Galogly.
Yes.
McDonald.
Yes.
Pugh.
Yes.
And Sheehan is absent. Motion passes.
All right, next we're looking for approval of Resolution 24032, which is the Division Street wastewater treatment plant non-potable water system. Looking for a motion to approve.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
JR, Jonathan, questions, thoughts, concerns?
This is one of our sustainability things. Brian, you want to talk about this a little bit?
Yeah,
Or-
so,
My clicker's going.
So this is at our treatment plant. What we're gonna be doing is a non-potable water system. So what it does is basically takes our influent water that we discharge to the channel right now. And what that ends up doing is we're gonna end up recirculating it and using it for some of the process. Some of the process requires potable water, but majority of it does not. So what this will do is end up decreasing our budget use over $1 million. We should be able, that we currently sell our self water, I guess you can say, to use it. So we're using potable water that we're pulling from the well, treating it, sending it to the wastewater treatment just to treat and do some of the process that we need. So this is actually gonna be a cost savings in the long run for us, and also being more of an energy efficient and, environmental friendly. Instead of just pulling water from the aquifer, we're saving it and kind of recycling our water that we can do and use within site, so.
So cool.
Do we use how much effluent do we push into the canal a year, approximately?
It's, on a normal average daily is about 5 million gallons per day. And we do about 2 that goes from the Bonnie Ray. So total is about 7. High flows can go triple that, but that's during storm events and stuff like that due to infiltration and I&I problems that we have.
And
so.
do you know what our use is for,
What the water, we spend, I don't know what our actual water use, but I think it's 1.4 million is what we budget for our water. So, the water is about, what, $10? So,
Yeah.
yeah.
They use a lot.
We use a lot.
Millions
Yeah,
and
so this is
millions,
gonna be a huge savings, and I think if you think about the 1.4, we're gonna be saving $1 million, so this project hopefully will repay itself with less than a year of a return, so it's a pretty good savings and stuff like that, so.
How does this work with the plant expansion?
Actually, this will be staying, so this will actually is incorporated. Baxter Women was the designer of this, so we actually designed it so where it's getting placed, and in the basement, it's, that portion of the facility is staying. So this will not be ripped up or relocated or anything, so it will be incorporated so that the new building and new treatment plant and expansion will function with this. So there'll be no change.
Now, is that water stored anywhere or just on-demand use?
It's on demand, so as it comes through, we'll cycle it through and use it and go. And any excess will end up going out into it, but as long as we have it, we'll be able to reuse it, so.
All right, cool.
So we don't have to draw water, basically.
You'll pressurize the effluent to use
Yes.
throughout?
Yeah, it's just like a water main, just like, almost like a closed loop, but once it's, once there's excess, then we don't need it, so.
And there's no need to store it if the effluent levels go
Yeah,
down?
there won't, yeah.
2 in the morning or something like that?
Yeah, no, we would still have the same amount, so,
All right.
yeah.
And so it's kind of based on if you're processing a lot of water, you need.
Right, because our average daily is at 5, so it'll stay and keep rolling, and our processes go down at night, and it'll pick up during the day when it's higher peak, so.
Yeah, in fact, today, I mean, it's a little off, it's not off topic, but it's along this. Just had some discussions today about how to use effluent. Instead of just putting it all in the creek and let it go, is there other ways we can use it industrial-wise or processing? And so, yeah, we've started to have larger conversations too on this, so.
And this lowers the demand on our system too, which makes more available for other developments and projects in the area as well.
Yeah.
It's all good?
All right, thank you. Anything else then? All right, then we'll do a roll call.
All right, you got it. Saban.
Yes.
Bartleson.
Yes?
Deskin.
Yes.
Bergbauer.
Yes.
Gallogley.
Yes.
McDonald.
Yes.
Pugh.
Yes.
Sheehan is absent. Motion passes.
All right, and lastly, we're looking for approval for Resolution 24031, which is the Adams Street Culvert Head Wall Repair with PT Faro, amount $68,600.
Motion?
Second.
All right, Pat and JR. Any questions, thoughts? Is there anything you want to talk about, Brian? No, you don't have to, I'm just saying if you.
Nope, I'm good.
Okay.
No, it's in pretty bad shape.
Yeah, the resident who lives next door will be extremely happy the fact that that got,
No, he actually passed away. Not Tim. The one that had the most concerns, he passed away.
oh, the gentleman,
In the now White House.
okay. All right. You work for the county?
Are we, Tim
That's the
does.
gentleman I was referring
Do you know if we're painting that black or green, or what color it
It'll
used
be
to be?
black.
All right.
It'll match the rest of our decorative
Memorial.
railing, so.
to. That'd be Kelvin Grove colors, it's right there.
Is that
That was the
yeah,
facelift.
it'll be Celtic green.
Okay,
Gold.
all right.
I'll still be happy.
All right, so we'll do a roll call, please.
You got it. Saban.
Yes.
Bartleson.
Yes?
Deskin.
Yes.
Bergbauer.
Yes.
Gallogley.
Yes.
McDonald.
Yes.
Pugh.
Yes.
And Sheehan is absent. Motion passes.
All right, any new business?
Mayor, I do have a motion for a brief exec session tonight. I think is it 2C1 or 2C2?
2C1, it'll be at the end of the committee of the whole.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, all good? And then, I don't have any cards for open floor comments, but, they got anything? All right, then we'll, do a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Renee, Joanne, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Whenever you're ready, Kathy.
Okay. Give me a second.
Yes, this
Oh,
please.
okay. All right. Saban.
Still present.
Bartleson.
Here?
Deskin.
Here.
Bergbauer.
Here.
Gallogley.
Here.
McDonald.
Here?
Pugh.
Present.
And Sheehan is absent. We have a quorum.
All right. So first on the agenda is, well, please, Ben.
Thank
take it
you,
away.
Mayor and members of council. This would be for an agreement with Christopher Burke Engineering to take a look at an IDOT intersection with us in town, Farrell Road and 159th Street. I would be approving resolution 24-045. The existing conditions out there have been a good backup for many years in Lockport. IDOT has been helpful with us in regards to changing some of the paint lines, but we've always kind of wanted to talk to them about a dedicated right turn lane at that intersection going eastbound so that you can align the two eastbound lanes in queue to the two eastbound lanes continuing east. The property owner in the corner, one of the developers that's inquiring, was willing to dedicate the necessary 10-foot easement that we would need to even consider that. So we thought it was a good time to come back and see if we can get IDOT to consider a new study in regards to would they allow for something like this. You got a couple things going on in this intersection, and this example is a good way where it might look if we get approved, but we're looking to evaluate it and get everything we need to do that IDOT's going to require to consider that.
No, it's a good idea, thank you.
I have a question on that, if I may.
Sure.
I was sitting at the stoplight today, and I noticed that 10-foot would be real close to that fire hydrant.
Mm-hmm.
So that's got to be
That
moved?
would be moved, right? The
Okay.
sidewalk would be moved, and there's a lot of things that would have to happen.
Okay.
And permitted at the time of construction, but just for conceptual consideration.
And this is just him saying, in order to do this, all these pieces need to happen, and then put a price tag
Right.
on it and see what they want to do.
Right, cost estimates could come out later and all
Cool.
that kinds of
All right,
things.
thanks.
That would determine the length of the queue, and the developer we're talking to is gonna want to right in, right out. Where does that get located? So there's a lot of things that would go into it at the same time.
It's a good idea.
And, Pat, a lot of times we do these things, yes, it's an IDOT road, but, IDOT's not looking for projects necessarily, but we've found over the years that if we do a little preliminary work and bring it to them, then it's a lot more likely to get into
Easier
the
to
queue.
digest.
Mhm.
Cool.
All right, are we good with consent on that? All right. And then, Sonny, what do you got?
Mayor, members of the city council, this item is a development agreement with Cal Atlantic Group LLC, which is better known as Lennar, for development north of 151st Street and west of I-355. It's approximately 26.7 acres, and it was granted a special use a couple years ago regarding actually apartment complexes. They're coming back for townhomes, which would include 39 buildings. The development agreement kind of outlines how the development is going to go through. There are no concessions or reduction of the impact fees or any of the development fees that normally a developer would pay. And the developer has agreed to make off-site improvements, including widening 151st Street from the existing 2-lane cross-section to the 3-lane, inclusive of dedicated eastbound left turn lane at both east and west entrances. The developer will also install a 10-feet wide asphalt multi-use pedestrian bike path along the north side of the 151st Street. They'll also agree to stripe the crossing and put flashing lights for the pedestrians and bike users. They will also pave our access to the pump station that is on the southwest corner of that development. They've also agreed to construct a park site pad for the park district, just in case, or just for the future park that will maybe develop there. So I'm sure Lance will go through some of the details regarding what's going to be located there, the design and all the facades and buildings. But at this point, the developer has agreed to the red line development agreement changes. And so if since there's no big substantive change, we request that this item be placed on consent for the next city council meeting. If there's any questions, I will be more than happy to answer them.
Okay. Thoughts, concerns?
Who's responsible to maintain the bike path?
So on their property, it would be the HOA, whether it's in the open spaces or otherwise. The area out on on 151st Street. I'm sure that Brian and Ben would be discussing the city taking just like any sidewalk.
And this is in lieu of a sidewalk along 151st?
Correct.
And then I think, with the HOAs, I think you guys have been doing a great job really kind of getting the HOAs back on track and obviously reaching out to these folks once it's established and keeping them focused.
Yeah, we'll get their, as a part of this, we get their full covenants and everything else that would go into the, the development. So we do take a look at those and try and think forward into the future. Some of the issues that we've run into in the past with some other developments, we try and make sure that they're integrated.
Yeah, very good. Okay. Yeah, I mean, we can put this on consent if everyone's all right with it. I mean, we can also listen to the next part of this before we 100% commit to it. So why don't you hear from the next part of this? So please,
Okay.
Lance.
Sure, this is item CD1 related to ordinance 24009 and resolution 24043. This is an amendment to the special use permit for planned residential development, as well as preliminary and final plat and plan review for the Oak Valley community, which is the property previously discussed for the annexation agreement. This property is located along 151st Street. Prologis buildings are to the north there. Creekside Estates North is directly to the west, and our water tower, you can kind of see that at the northwest corner of 151st and 355. This was rezoned from O2 General Office to R2 Single Family in 2017. In 2022, a preliminary plan was approved for a single-family detached residential community. The developer did not continue on with that to final development plans because of some economic issues. And today, the plan before you is from Lennar Home Builders. They are following a nearly identical layout from a road standpoint as what the previously approved plan had. They saw it and gained approval of their concept plan as shown on the screen last year in 2023, and the final development plans that are before you tonight are in conformance with that original concept plan. The site plan illustrates 39 attached single-family townhome buildings, 8 3-unit and 31 4-unit buildings with a total of 148 units. The plan shows 3 access points, one that aligns with Hillside Drive in the northwest corner, one that aligns with Olympic Lane to the south, that's the western entrance on 151st, and then also a access point on the east end that aligns with the fire district's entrance into their firehouse there. You can also see the road that they will be including as a part of the project that gets us back to our well station back there. I believe it's 15. As noted before, the park is located up in that northwest corner. It would actually create an expansion or a doubling of the size of the existing Creekside Estates Park. We are looking to connect the bike path in with the existing bike path that's over there as well. So we're trying to link as many of these pieces together. The Park District has been working with Lennar diligently on the layout of it, making sure that the grades accommodate what their standards are. So the Park District is pleased with where we are at this point on that. Open space has been provided to the north. I'm going to go back to the site plan real quick. To the north of development around the basins, that is what you see, kind of those amorphous shapes that are north of that northern line of townhomes. And then they have the bike paths and connections throughout, which is the lighter gray line that kind of weaves in and around the stormwater basins, and then also through the center of the development back out to 151st Street to connect with that new bike path that would be out there as well. Additional guest parking is going to be provided along the walkway, and there are 3 modifications that are before you tonight that the Plan Commission reviewed and agreed with. The first is on maximum lot coverage. Our city requirement is 30%. And Oak Valley is proposing 70%. The reason why that platting issue came up in front of you, if you listen to the Plan Commission meeting, the issue that we deal with townhomes is that the building is the orange box on the screen. Their lot, the ownership lot, is the yellow box, as opposed to a normal home where it would include all the way back through the green area as your private lot. Townhomes are developed differently, and our code is challenged, and so one of the things that will come before you probably in 2 or 3 months is a way to redo our bulk requirements for townhomes specifically. If you just drew regular single-family lot lines on these, you wouldn't even notice any difference. But it's because of the way that these are platted. If you envisioned at your house that you had a property line that ran 5 feet outside of your walls, but your property actually, or you had access to all the open space behind you in your normal lot, that's the issue that we're dealing with. So sometimes, and you could see it on their site plan, people will look at back of home to back of home distance as opposed to just a distance to the property line. So it's a little bit challenged there. So that's one of the reasons for the lot coverage modification. The rear yard setback is another one of those, again, with the property line only being a certain distance off the back side of the house. That is typically reduced from what we have. Now, we have requested expansion of that because one of the issues that we have dealt with in the past is that even though most townhomes get a standard kind of patio and stoop built as a part of their unit, sometimes owners do like to expand that a little bit to accommodate a grill or something like that. And if it is so snug up against the house, there's really no room for expansion. So they walk in to the building department and they're like, hey, I want to expand my patio 3 feet. We'll look at it and we'll say, well, you're over your property line. What do you mean? I've got 50 feet of grass behind my house. Why can't I put something in? And so that challenges us. So we typically ask for a little bit more room on the backside to accommodate some of those things. And then the last one is the open space. We worked with them quite a bit on getting the open space, and typically if we can get within 10%, we feel really comfortable with the amount. There are all kinds of geometrical things that can challenge 1 or 2% around a site, but we're at 37% with that, so we think that we're less than 10% and is an acceptable modification to include. Here are some of the other kind of standards that are put in here. There were some questions about that, and you can see on that left-hand side about the side-to-side, the rear-to-rear, the rear-to-side. Those are some of the things that we're going to be looking at as a part of our bulk standards modifications in our updated zoning code stuff coming to you in the near future. There were a couple questions at the Plan Commission meeting about some additional on-street parking. We worked with a developer to identify another 3 locations where they could add some on-street parking to the development, and those 3 locations, I believe, added a total of 14 or 13 spaces into the development, so we felt pretty good about where we ended up with that. That was a request that came out of Plan Commission that they looked at. And then we also looked at that building number 3, which is in the far southwest corner of the development. There was a concern about the width of the drive lane there to be able to allow for 2-lane, a car coming in and a car coming out, so they have widened that out to a normal street width to be 24 feet. I didn't put a circle around that one, but it's if you see where building 3 is, it's kind of that drive, that width there. These are building elevations for what the buildings will look like. There are 2 different styles, a craftsman and then a farmhouse style, and then there are also 3 different color packages that we worked with them on within that to be able to have enough variety throughout the development to be able to have that really create some interest in the way that it looks. These are fairly dramatically different from what you saw at the concept plan level, which were comparables for what they were looking to do there. We worked with them for a very long time to get to where we are today with the specific styles that we've been able to work with them on. This is the farmhouse style as well as the 3 different color variations that will be present. This is the rear of the units, the one on the bottom. Those will face 151st Street and Creekside Estates. And then the north one will be the interior homes that kind of face themselves, or the rears face themselves. And then the landscape plan, meets and exceeds our landscape requirements, so we are good with that. They have paid particular attention to the areas between Creekside Estates and this new development, both with berming as well as additional landscaping. And then they are also paying a lot of attention to the 151st Street frontage, which will be very consistent with what you see in front of Creekside Estates today. So with that, the item went before Plan and Zoning Commission on March 12th. The commission requested the additional parking as noted before, and the applicant subsequently provided the additional parking document that I showed you. And with that, should the council find the proposed townhome development consistent with the concept plan, you can do one of the following. You can place ordinance 24009 and resolution 24043 on City Council on April 17th for consent or action.
All right, questions?
Be happy to take any questions.
Yeah, I have a few questions. The bike path, is it going to be permeable, or what's the bike path consist of?
It'll meet our city, it's our city required materials.
Okay,
So we have a
is it-
standard. It's asphalt.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can they make it permeable as far as the environment?
Probably be a question for Ben and Brian on our city portion of it. As far as the private side, we have asked them to follow our city standard. And we could certainly throw the question out there.
Okay,
That's
On the bike path?
yeah.
yeah,
I got a couple
that's a
other.
considerable expense and maintenance that's
pretty
probably
narrow.
not
I
warranted,
mean-
yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it was like a street, that might have some value because it's
Or a parking
capturing
lot for a park or
water,
something.
but a 10-foot wide bike path is not going to capture a lot of rain.
Okay,
I think most of it will just run off and go soak right into the ground next to it anyway.
yeah, true, okay. And then as far as the landscape project, I looked at it, it's very nice. But I was wondering if we could put more native plantings as far as the trees, because I was looking at the list, and unless I'm incorrect, I didn't see that many natives.
We have a tree list in our code that they pick from. That might be something that you and I could work on as far as looking at our tree list on there, if we want to make some adaptations to those, to the tree list that we have. But I'd certainly be willing to work with Lennar to see if they want to switch a couple of them out, if you have some specific that you don't like or would
No, just
prefer to
going
have.
down the list, I noticed that there weren't
Okay.
that many natives. I just want to switch them out. And then I was listening to planning and zoning, and one of the gentlemen brought up the point of getting the blocks for the streets. It's not called a roadblock. It's called, it slows the cars down. Speed bumps. So, and I know they're a bad idea, but do they make, and this maybe goes to Brian, do they make a speed bump that that HOA can possibly remove in the winter and put back in the summer? Because that's when kids are running around.
You can modify, or you can adjust, or not adjust, slow down traffic by changing texture as well, so that you're not putting humps in the middle of the road, like in crosswalks and stuff like that. Like, it's more scientific than I care to talk about right now, but
It's never been suggested, though. I mean, is that a possibility? Because a lot of subdivisions have requested the speed bumps, but they were always frowned on.
They're hard on city plows, and
Yeah.
there's debate on whether they work. I get it. I mean, if you're going to allow them here, you allow them everywhere in the city. I think it's a bad idea, but I get the concern for
But
kid
if they're
safety,
removable, if the HOA takes the point of removing them in the fall, I could see that being possible.
The hard part is when you attach it, so whatever you put in to keep it in the bituminous surface, so if you nail in something, that actually compromises the surface then, pavement-wise. So you're allowing water to infiltrate into the base, and that would cause problems with the roadway itself. Even if it was concrete, then you would still have the breakage, and are you actually gonna redo it? The big thing is, it's like with stop signs, a lot of people request stop signs. What happens with speed humps and stuff like that, they do slow it down, but in between, cars will speed up. So between stop signs, you'll stop and then you're gonna speed up, and if you add enough stop signs in the way, all people do is speed. They're gonna still make their same amount of time. They wanna get through, so they're just speeding up faster and stopping, speed, and so you're actually getting more of an increase in acceleration, and it's actually a noisier situation for residents and stuff. So there's other ways we could do, and I know Lance may have some of them where you could try to narrow certain areas. If you have long sections of road, you can kind of bring in the curbs a little bit and narrowing down the road so it becomes a two-lane road, but it's not the wide, comfortable feeling of a 28-foot wide pavement where you feel like you have 14 foots. When you start narrowing the traffic widths and lane widths down, you do get a slower traffic, but in residentials with the curves, I can't imagine too much speeding in this neighborhood at least. There's not enough space to really get up to any kind of speed on that, so.
Okay, have we done stamped concrete or textured concrete in crosswalks in the city before?
The only place that I know that it exists, and I believe it's asphalt, is at Lockport Square, and that was a self-imposed condition as a part of their OEM requirements. That kind of a thing is really a council, we wouldn't recommend it, but it's really a council direction because this becomes our road. So any crosswalk or things like that would become ours. My past streetscape experience has been that if you put concrete next to asphalt as a cross surface, you're going to get differential settlement, and people will start hitting the concrete over and over again and ultimately chip out the concrete that's in the crosswalk. So they're challenging, and many of the street print or the textured asphalt that was popular a number of years ago takes a lot of maintenance over time too.
Okay.
So there aren't a lot of great solutions outside of, like Brian said, physically narrowing lanes or changing the geometry or the configuration of it. But again, that goes to our code. So if that's a discussion that people would want to have, we would certainly be open to discussing some of those kinds of things to help with speed or other things.
And there's no on-street along the curb parking in this neighborhood?
There isn't a lot of room to do it because they're all the driveways
Sure.
right next to each other. There are a couple spots where there are wider grass areas that you could park. I mean, they're doing our full-size cross-section, street cross-section, so I would hope that people could park on the
They
street
just have
somewhat.
to be judicious about where they do it. to not
Right. We just
irritate their
end up
neighbors.
taking care of a lot of asphalt that nobody uses otherwise.
Anything else?
Yeah, what were I can't remember, what were the prices of the townhomes?
John, you want to answer that? John is with Lennar Homes.
Hi there, John McFarland, Lennar Corporation. We expect the townhomes to range in price from about $350 to $400, depending on location on the site, some options and upgrades, and particular floor plan.
And then with this 10-foot backyard, we're moving it to 13?
No, it'd still be 10.
Okay.
10 is the requirement.
Okay, good. I don't see a need to have it any bigger, honestly. Okay, that's all I want.
That's a good question, because there have been people that, a 10 by 10 square for a patio is not very big, and then you had mentioned if they want to make it a little bit larger, there's no expansion availability.
But what's going to be the typical owner of these townhomes? Are they going to be younger couples, younger people, and older, where they wouldn't really need to expand a deck? I mean, it's not like it's not going to be a large family in there.
I would say that there are a couple things that come into play with the people that come into the building department for permits. The first is that having a narrower helps the HOAs not have to deal with people building things in their yard. So there are typically no sheds allowed, there aren't any decks allowed, there aren't a lot of those kinds of things. So you get your package, and the HOA will allow you, based on the covenants that are set up by the original developer and then carried forward by the HOAs, they will allow you to do certain things, and they all have to sign off on the improvement before the building department. The challenge with getting them too large is that then you start getting a whole bunch of different things back there that the townhome association ends up either caring for themselves, which they don't really want to do, or problems with encroachments and other things like that. We haven't had, the only issue that we have had is somebody that wanted to pour a slightly larger patio in the Sagebrook townhome development. Most everybody accepts what they have and what they have purchased, and then they decorate it with temporary things around. You can probably see it on the back of, when you drive by the Sagebrook rear townhomes, you can kind of see how a lot of people handle those. A lot of it's temporary stuff. But permanent things, that was kind of what prompted our thought about expanding it out to being a 10-foot minimum or maximum on that setback.
Do the plans have, and I didn't see this in the plans, have a privacy screen in between those adjoining patios?
John? I think it's a landscape treatment between them, just like what I think Sagebrook has
Yeah,
landscape
like
treatment.
8-foot panel, 8
Right.
by 10 or something like that, that in between those patios that are sitting right up against each other?
Sure. Rich Olson with Gary R. Weber Associates. So each of the units between them, there's 3 arborvitae trees, basically, and they're quasi-trees. They're really skinny, but they get fairly tall. And that creates a green wall between the units. Very effective.
I think that's what Sagebrook has, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, yep, totally works.
Doesn't that also depend on the association, the HOA, whether or not they want something like that put up? Because it can deface the look of the townhomes and...
Yeah, well, it kind of tastes, once you start talking about fencing, then you gotta maintain it.
Yeah.
It just seems like the evergreens, it's a green screen. It does everything that the fence does, and you don't have all the maintenance. And
then
a
the
replacement of
landscaping.
an evergreen is very effective and easy to do, versus now you got paint the, you got
Right. Oh, no, I understand.
it's all sorts of stuff. And over time, at first it looks great, but then as it matures, then you've got all this, things that you got to work on as far as maintenance. Versus the evergreen, it's there all year round. It's easy to maintain. It's easy to replace.
In landscaping, usually, people that do the landscaping will be able to trim, and it'll be a lot easier than,
Yeah. You can hedge them a little bit. Typically, they stay pretty to form, and then they just go straight up in the air. But yeah, it's definitely a better, it's a more economical. It's just better all around. And trees are good.
What's the current weight limit for truck traffic on 151st? Is that a truck route?
7 or 8 ton?
I think it's 7, based on the conversations that we were having for the gas
Yeah,
station.
because the gas station can't go past that way on 151st, so.
Yeah.
So the question then, somebody asked, then I'd bring it up, if it's 7 tons and we do that to prohibit truck traffic from entering into the residential area, this being a construction zone, a full loaded cement truck is going to be over that. But, the street is capable of handling.
Short-term projects, yeah.
For sure.
Well, yeah, every street.
We have to do that everywhere. And even though, I think Rich could even comment, like, when trucks are making deliveries for certain things, they have the right to go to certain places and even exceed the limits depending on what they're doing. And but in this temporary thing, during construction only, it's limited.
Again,
151st is
questions that
well
were
built.
asked in terms of, oh my God,
Sure.
I got cement trucks, but this, it's a short-term duration. The roads are set up to handle that weight. We put lesser limits on it to prohibit that become a thoroughfare. So I think that takes care of concerns that people might have.
Yeah, the roads can handle the semi-traffic and all that, and the weight of it, so they are constructed for that. We just limit it so that we control where the trucks can go.
Got it. Okay.
All right, friends, anything else? All right, so if I read this right, is AT1 24009 and is CD1 24043? Is that how that plays out?
Yeah, there's actually, the ordinance itself is the special use, amendment to the special use, and the resolution is approving the final plan and plat. Are you talking about?
Because I just thought it prudent to put it on as an action item, but I'm fine with the first part, AT1
yeah.
being consent. That's all I was going to say.
Yes.
So I just didn't know how to assign those numbers. I mean, it's just my suggestion, so.
The development agreement can be on consent, it really, they should go together, but, if,
Put them on action.
yeah, if you want, it
All right,
would be
then we'll
easier.
just put them, we'll
action,
just put them
yeah,
both on action.
yeah.
Yeah, and I will note to you, I handed everybody out just a new ordinance. It just had a very small modification to it. They had originally required a modification for the amount of minimum landscaped area. When they modified their plan, they were able to achieve that, so it's no longer a modification that's required. So that was removed off the modification list.
Do you know the height of the berm that runs along 151st on average?
Berm on 151st.
It has yet to be constructed, but.
Ryan Martin, Kimley Horn, site civil engineer. It's 2 to 3 feet higher than the sidewalk that's going to be built adjacent to it.
Yeah, the last thing's more of a comment. There's, it looks like there's a national wetland inventory delineation there that kind of runs through the northeast corner of the property. And I've seen enough construction sites let their, SWIP requirements kind of not be important once you hammer the silt fence in. And so just have your
We are very,
well, I didn't
we
say
pay
here
a
in
lot of
Lockport, I'm
attention.
just- yeah.
No, we pay
Yeah.
a lot of attention to that, and so our consulting engineer is out there fairly often reviewing that and making sure it's okay. And we do require that they submit SWIP reports to the city as well. I don't know if it's on a weekly basis, but for sure on a monthly basis.
And it's hard, I know it's hard, especially with huge rains. It's,
Yeah.
It's hard, but it's important, especially when you've got that.
Yes.
Okay, friends, so we'll put him down for action, and then, very good, thank you, good questions. All right, CD2, what do you got, Lance?
All right, for CED2, we have the adoption of the annual City of Lockport zoning map in accordance with the Illinois Municipal Code. The City of Lockport is required to publish an updated map clearly showing the existing zoning uses, divisions, restrictions, regulations, and classifications from the preceding calendar year. To comply with the state code, we have provided the official zoning map dated March 31st, 2024, and then map pending city council approval reflects those zoning changes that occurred prior to March 31st, 2024. So this is basically capturing all the stuff that happened last year with developments, all part of things that you would have approved, rezonings, plan developments, special uses, things like that are all captured by this document. So it's our annual update. We do this every year.
If there was no change in the zoning, it wouldn't
Correct.
be changed.
Yeah, it just stays, everything stays the same. The only thing that gets added is if something happened in the prior year.
We rezoned Darren's house to be a toxic waste dump. Yep, about that. Just calling it for what it is, man, yep.
If anybody would buy,
Black Eyed Susans.
if anybody wants a full-size copy of this, please let me know. I'd be happy to provide it. Just tell me what size you want, and we can print that out.
Put that in my garage.
You better give
Not
us a
quite
limit.
that big.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody wants that big, but we do typically have like 30 by 42s or 36 by 48s, or we can do 11 by 17s too, so.
Put it right just next to your old Farrah Fawcett poster.
Right.
Shoot me an email if you want one.
My wife was just asking for a new 36 by 42 updated zoning map.
I'm sure she would.
I'd like to get that to her by her birthday on this.
Every wife's dream.
Thank you.
All right, very good. So we're good with consent on that, it's just a consent thing. Okay, and then our historic district map, what do you got for that?
All right, the City of Lockport's Historic Preservation District is comprised of two distinct boundaries. The first is the City of Lockport's Historic District, which includes all the primary and secondary zones from our Historic Preservation Plan from 1978. And then the second one is the designated Historic Places District, which is nationally registered under the Federal Secretary of the Interior. We requested to update the historic district to remove 6 residential properties that are shown there in green in the upper right-hand corner. They're located on 7th Street as well as Hamilton Street, due to these properties having little to no historic significance. It also allows those properties to not have to come before H&A to replace their windows on their houses or their roof or any of the items that would be there. Most residents aren't aware that we even have an H&A, but we have typically tried to focus that on commercial buildings. And so that's why typically our National Historic District is most commercial ones, and our local historic district is all commercial properties, except these six houses got, or 7 houses got caught in that original modification. So we hired a consultant to be able to prepare a full legal description of both boundaries, which we never had before, and then also update our maps to include that, and then also take that out. The revised map was reviewed and considered by H&A at their meeting in December of 2023, and they voted to approve that 6-0. So that is ordinance 24-011 for action or consent.
All right, everybody, any questions? All right, so consent then, please. And then PD1.
PD1. Thank you, Mayor. This item is the storage area network, or SAN device, which will essentially allow us to increase our digital data storage capabilities. We have been in communications with Todd Jervac, who handles the IT for the city, and he also completed an IT assessment for the police department. In conversation, we spoke about not only the current digital data use, but the future needs of the department, as well as creating a redundancy or backup plan in the event of a catastrophic incident or a natural disaster. This way we don't lose the digital data. Primarily, the data stored on these devices come from the police department's investigations unit, which utilizes a considerable amount of digital data storage. They regularly mirror or copy cell phones, tablets, the data on the cell phones, tablets, computers for evidentiary purposes in criminal cases. And it takes up a lot of storage. Some of these cell phones we're seeing now, when we do this mirroring, they hold 1 terabyte of data. So that's a lot of data. Considering in an average year, we go through about 2.5 terabytes of digital data storage annually, which isn't bad because we don't store everything, just what we need, right? So it's also not something that we need for Axon. We talked about Axon and being that those body cameras we send that digital data to the cloud. So this isn't for that. It's not for the in-car camera systems. That's a WatchGuard. That's a server system in the police department. This is specifically for the evidence that the investigators will extract, or I should say copy or mirror from the tablets, the cell phones, and the computers. Like I said, annually we go through about 2.5 terabytes of digital data storage space per year. Currently we have about 8 terabytes left of storage space of the 26 when we started, who knows when, with the current storage capability. The belief is that with the remaining storage, we may make it to the next 2, maybe 3 years, and that depends on the rise in technology crimes, because we are seeing those increase significantly, and also the ability of these devices to store more and more data. With the advance of technology, like I said, we're seeing some of these iPhones holding 1 terabyte of data. So it was recommended by IT that we acquire 2 of these Dell ME5012 SAN devices, each device containing 12 individual 8 terabyte hard drives. So these hard drives are where the data is actually stored in these hard drives, which should provide enough storage that we feel probably lasts a couple decades at least, because that's 96 terabytes per device. The recommendation was that we purchase 2 of these configurations. Part of that reason was, like I said, with a catastrophic incident or natural disaster, we'll have 1 of these devices with all this data stored at the PD, and the recommendation was to have the second one off-site, either at Public Works or at City Hall. So something happens to one facility, we still have that evidence backed up. So tonight I'm asking for City Council's consideration to use city IT funds for the purchase of 2 of these Dell ME5012 storage area network devices from VR6 systems at a total cost not to exceed $36,000, and that's for Resolution 24-044.
Pat, I'd say you're our most knowledgeable
Yeah, I'm
tech
cool with
guy.
that. Yeah.
These look legit to you?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Everybody good with consent then? Okay. All right, and then lastly, we've got Brian. Tell us about the Bruce Road Bridge.
Yeah, so this is for Phase 1 engineering proposal that was submitted by V3 companies. It's for the replacement of the Bruce Road, or for the preliminary design for the replacement of the Bruce Road Bridge over Fraction Run. The current condition is in very poor condition of this bridge structure as rated by IDOT. And what we ended up doing is last year, we submitted a request to get on the local bridge formula program from IDOT, which funds 20% or 80% of the 80% match of the overall project for all three phases. How IDOT does it is the program itself is awarded Phase 1, and once you complete that, then they'll give you an allotment of Phase 2 money and Phase 3. So we're on board, but as long as their program is funded by the state and they get a budget every year, then we'll be going ahead to go through the process to get the funding and continue on. So we're actually on program and everything. The total dollar amount for Phase 1 is $244,776. So 80% will be covered by the program, and the remaining 20% is covered by the city, which we're going to go ahead and we're going to utilize the Largo Vista Road and Bridge Fund that they kind of put toward this, and we're going to pay the local fund of that $48,955.20 will come out of that coffer that we have reserved right now. So that'll be done that way, and it probably will take almost a year to two to do Phase 1. And then once Phase 1 is completed, IDOT approves it, we'll move into the next phase, and we'll come back and we'll move on with the project.
So this design considers the widening of Bruce as if the Caton Farm Bruce Ridge Bridge, whatever.
No, I think, well, I mean, that was once under consideration, as you know, as we've talked about making the design where it was scalable, but I believe the current one is to stay on the current path. If that ever happened 30 years from now, it would be probably replaced.
Yeah, what we're gonna do is, this will be tied in with the Serenity Landings to the south that's coming, so we'll do a 3-lane cross-section across the bridge, and it has a bike path accommodation to the north side. While the bike path's not gonna be installed, we'll have that section for the bridges. But in the future, if we go through Lamb Woods and continue on with the rest of the development of Largo Vista and Serenity Landings to the south, as that gets built, they'll all be able to tie in at that intersection and be able to get around the city a little bit easier. So we're gonna accommodate our local part, not the regional part of the 5-lane cross-section.
Okay. Any other thoughts, questions?
I'm just curious, what is the overall estimated budget on what they think they're designing? What is this, a $1 million, $2 million bridge? What
Yeah,
is
it's
it?
about $1 million bridge at the end,
Okay.
it would be close to.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, is everybody good with consent on that? Okay, then. Consent it is. All right, last chance for new business. All good? Just for, you're gonna make it official now?
Tell us about, update us about the dance on Saturday.
Well, if you insist. So I have been invited, because you do have to be invited to participate in the Angelica Foundation. It's a fundraiser through the Guardian Angels, and their function, the foundation itself is to help women and children that are in need and to improve their life, and they provide the funds to get them settled when they're in despair, you know, they need to go somewhere. So the Angelica Foundation helps these people. As a fundraiser, they also have, they do invite people to dance, and I have been invited to do so. So I will be participating. I'm one of 8 participants, and probably the oldest too, when I see the young faces. So we're all competing to come in first. We do get recognized. I had a radio interview that actually Darren was listening to, so he texted me and said, good job, so thank you. But also, we'll have a red carpet. It's a very formal function. We'll have a red carpet. We'll be interviewed for the local channel. And my dance that I'm going to be doing is the Argentine tango. So.
Very exciting.
Okay, so it starts at 5:30. They suggest that you get there by 5. And so there will be cocktails.
What's the location?
The location is at Boback's Banquet Hall in Woodbridge. And so there'll be a formal dinner and then dancing and all that. I can't
Very
believe it.
exciting.
So,
All right. Super fun.
So how do I make the motion to go into executive and then adjourn?
Yes, so you're making a motion to adjourn the committee of the whole meeting to go into executive session under 2C1 regarding appointments, employment, compensation, discipline, and performance of a specific employee, and that will be your motion.
Word for word, Jerry. I wanna hear it.
I just, you heard me, I just said that.
Ditto.
That's my motion.
Okay, all in favor?
Okay, who seconded, please?
Oh,
Renee.
Renee, thank you.